I know. Yes, we are. All right. What's up, everybody? It's
Yeah.
the 84 show live here, episode 237. We have special guest author Chad Wise with us tonight. Adam will be joining us shortly. Chad, how are you tonight?
I'm doing great. I just opened my first Sam Adams cherry wheat. I don't know if in Boston does this count as a good beer? Cherry wheat.
That's funny. You
Guys.
what do you remember from last time? That's my favorite beer.
Oh, that's right. Well, we just
Right.
got it here in Ohio, so I'm pretty excited about that.
Oh, sorry, we had unstable connection here. Yeah,
Okay.
you just got that in Ohio.
Just got it. Yeah. Last summer we got the summer wheat, which is really good, and then cherry wheat just came out here in the sticks, so it's really good. I'm hooked already.
Oh, I clean out the package store every time I see that in there because they don't provide a lot of it. It's only when they have it on the shelves, it's usually like 4 6 packs.
Yeah, you got to get it here. They'll sell the variety
I'm
pack.
usually cleaning it out.
16 beers. You got to jump on them real quick.
My everything's lagging for a little bit. Sorry if you.
No, you good.
I'm trying to get to the bottom of here. We got to update our internet system here. I think
There you go.
I don't think my bandwidth is strong enough to support. We had just gone digital. Everything in the house is like Wi-Fi at this point.
Okay.
So it's really draining on the
I bet.
So
I bet.
and then when I do this, it just adds on to the bandwidth I'm using, you know what I mean?
Right.
So last year when we talked, you were working on a book called The Ghost Runner, and it was a collaboration of stories that you've collected of people about baseball stories. And it's done now, right?
It is done. Here it is. You can get on Amazon. Shameless promotion here. You can get on Amazon. You can also send me a message on Facebook, and I can get it out to you as well. So a year ago, March, I was out in Arizona at a baseball writers conference. And one of the highlights, of course, being spring, was that one day we would go research a baseball game, one of the spring training games. Well, if you remember back then, the owners had locked out the players. And I don't remember exactly the details of the lockout, but so there was no baseball, except they did have the gift shops open. So, you could always give them your money if you want.
Right.
Anyway, we were bummed about that, but then someone said, hey, there's a local community college that's playing a game. And, being pretty diehard baseball fans, let's just go check it out. And, as we're watching the game, I mean, these guys are just busting their butts, and you could tell they were striving for something. Like a lot of them didn't know if they were going to go to the bigs, or the minor leagues, but they just played their butts off. And it was really great to see. Not that, nothing against pro ball, because I love pro ball, but it was something to watch these guys. Most of them knew that, a few months from now, their baseball careers will be over. So we watched that game, and it was awesome. And I started thinking, you know what? We all start somewhere trying to get to the major leagues. We all, you hold a wiffle ball bat and you think, all right, I'm the Babe Ruth, or I'm Babe Ruth. I'm going to, point the bat to right field or whatever.
Right.
So I started reminiscing and thinking about, as a kid, baseball and wiffle ball and, bouncy balls and all this. That was a key component to our childhood. Of course, we didn't have phones or computers, not that kind of stuff. But we would all meet. Like we used to play at a golf course, and we'd jump the fence. And whoever showed up, we played games. And so didn't matter how many people we had. The game was over when the groundskeeper would come by and shoo us away, and then we waited till he was gone, and we'd jump the fence again. So I thought, I can't be the only person that has these memories of childhood. That for me, it was beyond nostalgia. It was like a part of who I was when I grew up. And so I thought, I wonder who else out there has these thoughts. So I went to social media and I put it out there, and within a couple days, I had like 50 stories. And long story short, by July of last year, I had 700 stories that had come in.
Wow.
And they ran the gamut from funny to sentimental, and everything in between. And it was amazing to me how important baseball or wiffle ball or just the idea of baseball is to so many people. I mean, it's not just, hey, you remember that time we did this?
Mhm.
It really is a part of people's lives, and they pass it on to their kids. And so here we are in the book, Ghost Runners. I was able to fit 225 stories into this edition. I don't know if there'll be a second or a third edition. I certainly have enough stories, but it's amazing the just the breadth of stories that came in. And so, it's a lot of fun to read. It's interesting the different geographic locations. Here in Ohio, in the Midwest, we played wiffle ball and that kind of stuff. I started getting stories from New York. Like, what about stickball and stoop ball? And I'd never even heard of those things, and I'm not sure what was your big game in Boston? Like, what did you guys, when you were a kid, what was your thing?
So we used to play, I mean, we go down to the park and we play baseball if we get enough people, but big thing was basketball courts, we play stickball. So usually we got a tennis ball and a broken hockey stick. Usually
there you go.
Playing hockey, and it was, the length of a baseball.
Yeah.
And what we do, you go where you go to a basketball court. Home plate would be behind one of the baskets, and that would be your aim. And then the pitcher would pitch from usually like center court.
Yeah.
And you either do bounce pitch or whatever. And then the idea of the game was the bases were all the other basketball net, and then the two baselines right at half court.
Yep.
The idea was just to put the ball in play. And if you hit it out of the basketball court fair, it was a home run. It was basically something like that, so.
Yeah. So many people had so many of those similar stories. A lot of people talk about, the ball they hit a home run, but the game was over because they didn't have a backup.
Right.
So way to go. Now we got to go home or whatever. I would get a lot of stories from the New Jersey, Philadelphia area where people would say, technically, legally, you're not supposed to play ball in the street, especially stickball. And so sometimes the police would sit in their cars. So these, not my story, coming from other people. And so they would go to the store and get them some ice cream. And they would take it to the police in their cars, and they would kind of let them go. Hey, as long as you don't cause any trouble.
Right.
And I heard probably 3 or 4 stories about kind of, some say bribing the police, but I say just positive reinforcement,
Right.
And they were great about it. And they're like, nah, no big deal.
And the part about that is the police probably wanted to play too. They probably remembered when they were kids playing the ball too, so they didn't really bust balls on you.
Absolutely. I mean, how can you give a ticket or write some kid up or whatever for being out there when they were out there? Probably a lot of memories too. That's part of it.
But back when I was probably in middle school, I'd say between like 6th grade and like 9th grade, because before we had cars. Once we had cars, all bets were off. We weren't really playing that much ball. But there was a playground on the street from my house, and we had a bunch of neighborhood kids, and they ranged from anywhere from, 6th graders to 9th graders, and everyone would just collectively at the end of the day go down to the park. And there's probably some days there was 5 of us, some days there was 25 of us. You know what I mean? Yeah. And everyone would come down with like baseball glove, a tennis ball, a basketball, any kind of ball, right? We had a football, right, for that matter, and we would just play. We just played whatever was available, and usually it was usually it was stickball because we had enough people to play, and you'd have a designated pitcher, and you just But like stories like that, you remember, you remember forever. Looks like Adam's gonna be joining us right now too. In addition to that, as well is like I remember back playing Little League, and some of my longest memories. I mean, we're talking about almost 35 years ago.
Yeah.
The first home run I hit in the park home run in Little League, or the time I got thrown out of a Little League game because I had my temper went too crazy and I threw the bat and the umpire kicked me out, and it was just we were getting slaughtered 10-0 in the second inning, and I was just so frustrated. And I was just threw the bat and got yelled at the umpire. I'd be like 11 years old at this point. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I still remember vividly to this day. I could tell you exactly where the park was. I could tell you exactly where I was standing and exactly what team I was playing at the time too.
Yeah. And you think about it. Think about any other part of your life that you can go back, and I always say for me, I can taste I can smell the field, and I can taste. After every game, win or lose, we got to get we had a candy bar and a free pop, right? And so we would come up with these drinks. One was called a suicide drink, and you put everything in there: Pepsi, Mountain Dew, Dr. Pepper, everything that your body could absorb, and you would drink that. And I swear, if I had one right here, it would taste the same as, for me 40 years ago when I was playing ball.
There you go.
Adam
just joined us.
I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Hey, everybody.
Little update. You good to go? Yeah, he looks like he's
Everybody good to go?
I'm here.
All right. Cool.
No, it's funny you say about the smell too. I remember there was two fields we played on. One field had a cinder block dugout. The other one just had a chain link dugout. And I remember going into the cinder block dugout. It was the older field, and I had the field that would be 30 years old when we were playing there 30 years ago, and it had this unique smell to it. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it was a combination of like dead animals living in there or like like food. If I walked by something and smelt it to this day, it would come right back to me. Like I would know exactly what it was. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. It was probably a mixture, of fertilizer. We would still be in outfield eating, eating flowers that were probably, juiced on fertilizer. But it's fun. Everything about the game is just, like you said, if you smelled that smell today, you would remember it just like that. And that's part of, I think, the game. That's part of what people share. When we're talking about fields, I remember this was the playoffs. So you got to remember this is for all the marbles in my little town in Ohio. But we had some rain that day, and there was no way we were going to cancel that game. So now imagine this happening now, 2023. The dads would go get a bunch of sawdust. They would throw the sawdust all over the baseball field. They would pour gasoline all over the sawdust and torch the field. I can remember like it was yesterday, these flames were 12 feet high, and they would just burn and burn until it burned out. We're like, play ball, let's do this,
That's pretty awesome. Oh, hey guys, by the way.
Oh, we introduced you twice already. You just didn't hear us.
It took me a second. I was the one with technical difficulties today. That's a first.
I know, that's odd.
Usually Arty's the one with the technical difficulties. Oh, stuck in the middle of an update, which didn't seem to like me.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Glad to join you guys.
Could you imagine if that happened today? If someone setting fire to a baseball field, like a little league field. I mean, you'd probably arrest the father for doing something crazy.
Everybody.
I would say that they should probably, care to their lawn better, because I don't know how you could. The grass must be really unkept.
There was never a dandelion on my little league field. I swear to this day.
Yeah, that's a dry ass field.
Or pop that baby heads off, or whatever you call it. Back in the day.
You have to be a pretty dry ass field.
Yeah, it was pretty sweet. But now it's all grown over. It's grass, I drove around there just because I'm a nostalgic nut. And I'm looking, hey, I remember being here, and I remember my mom used to sit here and those kind of things. And everybody has some sort of story like that. It doesn't have to be profound. It's just, I remember this. And excuse me, that's what the book is all about. People share stories like, one kid, since Mother's Day is coming up, one kid he was an average hitter. He said, I think he was from New Jersey. He said, I hit a home run on Mother's Day. And they talk about it every single Mother's Day. I mean, how can you can't write that, in my opinion. That's a true story. So those stories, all the way to, this was my favorite story, playing a Little League game. And all of a sudden, one of the teams, the dugout, so the team was batting, so all the players were in the dugout. They run outside the dugout, and they're all lined up like behind the first baseman. And so the umpire stops and everything, and he looks over and he's like, "Coach, what is going on?" Well, somebody had farted in the dugout, and they said it was so bad they had to get out of the dugout. Now, mind you, it's like a fence, But anyway, that's just silly stuff. But it's a laugh, You remember those kind of things. A lot of the stories, are more sentimental. There's one kid who his dad had cancer, and one time he was able to go sit in the car and watch the game, and he hit a home run. and it's like, you see fireworks, like how cool is that, So everybody has their own take on it, some were just funny and goofy, others were like, man, if I had stayed the right course, maybe I could have made it, whatever it may be. But anyway, they're just fun stories. And
so why would you think that? Now, if I was watching a statistic in baseball, and like Japan's very popular for young kids.
Oh yeah.
The in the islands, very, very popular, right? And Central America, very popular. Why do you think in America, where baseball was born, the population, I mean the popularity of baseball has just disappeared almost?
Well, I think it's several things. One, I think especially in like in the inner cities, I talked to a couple gentlemen from Cleveland who are putting a program together to get more kids in the inner city involved in baseball, because there used to be fields and everything there. Now they're apartments, or they're,
Right.
malls or Starbucks or whatever it may be. So there's a lot to it. I don't want to simplify it or oversimplify it, but who do we see on TV? A lot of people, with baseball games, now they've shortened it. I mean, you have to change the game that much because people won't sit and watch a 3-hour game. They've had to find ways, and it's working. It's like a half hour knocked off each game.
I have a theory. I have a theory for that.
What's that?
I have a theory for that. I think it's because we're a more developed country. I think in our country, because of technology, it's sped things up, and people's attention spans are a lot shorter now, as opposed to other countries where they have more time. So I think that has to do with it.
Yeah, I think you're right. You look at a lot of the countries. Well, for me, I lived in Japan back in the I won't tell you when I lived in Japan, but after school, everybody played a sport. Everybody. You either played soccer, you played baseball. Trying to think. Gosh, that I can remember, those were like the two. They didn't play football. So you had two choices. You either played baseball for the school, or you played soccer. That was it. Because those are, as much as we like to say, soccer is the most popular sport in the world. And so a lot of the countries will, that's their thing. I mean, Messi is the LeBron of most of the world, truth be told. But I think the attention span is a big issue, when you think of Japan, the, kids aren't, like after school, they're dealing with their phones and all that kind of stuff, but they're very traditional in that, hey, it was actually very interesting in the baseball realm in Japan, because in actually all sports, the oldest kids played the games. Everybody practiced together. You had a sort of a coach. He was more of a kind of like just overseeing everybody. The oldest kids ran the practice, and during the games, the oldest kids played, and the other kids waited until they were the oldest kids on the team. That happened in basketball over there as well, and also in soccer. And that's how their society is built, though, by hierarchy based on respecting your elders. So I thought that was kind of interesting. A lot of the world, there were several stories in here that came from the Dominican Republic, and baseball is your way out of the Dominican Republic. And it's that way in most of the Caribbean islands. But they, they don't have a lot of choices to it, and to think about it, I think about my kids. We have an average size yard here. My kids couldn't play wiffle ball back here. And when you hit the ball in the neighbor's yard these days, it's not as like, oh, sorry, I hit the ball in your yard. Back in the day, I remember people, you hit the ball in their yard, game over. Like you were dare knock on the door to say, hey, that was my ball. So I think that's a great question. It's got a lot of different facets to it, but kids watch, they're into the shoes and basketball and all that kind of stuff. I won't say they're more popular, but it's easier to go and shoot in a hoop with cool shoes on than it is to, hey, let's get 9 guys to wait in the field until somebody finally hits me the ball.
I do think like football, basketball, baseball, they have one thing in common too, which is they're cheaper sports. Like, you know what I mean? So if you're in another country, it doesn't cost anything to have just a basketball or a stick and a ball. You know what I mean? But like take like hockey and football. Jesus Christ,
it's very expensive.
Yeah,
that's a great point. One of the guys I talked to, I think I mentioned him earlier. They're trying to revive baseball in the Cleveland area. He said he coaches high school baseball. He said this year for his tryouts, 4 guys, freshmen, came to baseball with no gloves. You're 14, 15 years old. They did not have gloves. He had to go buy them gloves. And so, there is that, you want to play hockey or travel baseball, good luck with that. It's not like, hey, let's just go to the park and let's see what we can come up with. No. Here's something that's funny too. Back, it must have been in August, September. I sent an email to all my buddies who, and said, hey, let's meet at this old golf course that we used to play at. And let's just play a wiffle ball game just for fun. And we had about a dozen people show up. And I'm not kidding you, by the third batter, here comes this golf cart. It was the, manager of the golf facility, because you guys can't play here. We're like, dude, we're just playing a little wiffle ball, I mean, we take, he goes, no, insurance, it's a liability. You guys can't play here. And so we're like, well, where are you going to go? So I think there are a lot of aspects to it, but financially, I think that's a great point that you bring up, because that definitely will keep a lot of kids away from baseball.
I was just, for the hell of it, I just Googled the average annual cost of a child to play hockey. Take a guess. Ages up to 18 years old. Anyone?
A year? I don't know.
$2,580.
I was gonna say easily $1,000.
Yeah, super.
I mean, who's got that kind of money? I mean,
you're paying for time if you're gonna go practice. Like, we go to the free skate. They don't allow you to bring your sticks on the free skate sometimes, so you got to buy ice time. So you get that for extra practice, and then the equipment. You're a kid. You're going through new skates every year because your foot's growing like crazy.
Skiing, snowboarding was number 2 at 2004. That would make sense.
Yeah. I mean, you got
when I was a kid
rounds there.
Yeah, when I was a kid, I played hockey. I got my equipment used from a play it again sport, because I wasn't sure. Because you grow through it fast.
Same.
That's the best suggestion to buy. And for kids growing up, if you're not sure if your kid wants to play a sport or not, go to a play it again, buy the stuff for a cheap amount of money. Absolutely. See if they like it. If they like it and they get really good at it, then you can fine tune it a bit. Yep. But you're gonna outgrow that shit in a year or two, so you might as well go and just pay it forward, because the next person's gonna be upcoming and needs that stuff too, and you make a few bucks back on it, and you're not really wasting so much money. That's the crazy part, is the amount of money that's wasted for stuff you just can't use anymore.
And I think a lot of people too go into some of these sports your ultimate goal is to be pro, instead of, hey, let's go play ball, let's get some bat. I got a bat, you got a tennis ball, whatever, we're gonna play. We never thought about going anywhere with it.
Right.
It's fun. You know what I'm saying? And I guess it depends on the neighborhood and the expectations of your neighborhood or your city or whatever. But we never thought about that kind of stuff. We just played till we were too old and we stopped.
For baseball, $660.
That's not too bad.
Think about that. That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
2 or 3 kids.
Well, the graph factors in registration, equipment, travel, lessons, camps.
Not to mention, it's $600 something in that small baseball season. That's from April to September. Maybe.
That's true. I didn't think
maybe. Yeah. You're looking at 10 weeks maybe of.
Right, if you're lucky. It's a
different world too.
It is, and you're right about the fields though, because I remember we played baseball in fields we just found. There were abandoned fields that were just buildings that we had burned out. Where I grew up, there was a condominium complex they built in the late 80s that burned to the ground while constructing, and they never did anything with it. It sat there for 20 years without being touched.
Yeah.
And it didn't have, the grass wasn't high. It was just a very laid out area. There was a lot of gravel. It was really rugged, but perfect for stickball. I mean, we could play stickball if you didn't mind getting a couple of cuts and stuff, falling on the gravel and stuff. I mean, other than that, that's probably the worst of your concerns,
Yeah. Well, and you had to be creative too.
Right.
You mentioned, hey, we got to find a field. What this tree can be first. This
exactly.
tire will be second. that was part of the fun.
It's also funny you said about the baseball. Like once you lost your baseball,
Yeah, game over.
yeah,
I used to lose a lot of baseballs in my parents' windshield. We had an old Jeep, and for whatever reason they would park it in right field in our little yard. And man, if you could, you tried to pull it if you could, if you're a right-hander, but if you want to score some runs, you got to hit it to right field.
right.
So it really wasn't my fault. All those windshields. I'll tell my parents till the day I die. It wasn't my fault.
It was the ball. It was the wind carrying the ball.
Yeah.
Nature. Yeah.
Look, my exit velocity was like 9 miles an hour. Okay, you can't blame me for it.
The wind blowing out.
The wind had to be the wind. It was terrible. The windstorms we have here are just unbelievable. But we had so we started in our backyard, and we broke probably half dozen or so windshields or back doors, screen doors. My parents were like, "That's enough. Go somewhere else."
Yeah.
So there was a block down. There was this beautiful empty field. It had been a house at one time. They leveled it, and grass was beautiful until one day they had a sign like for sale, and then like a week later it was sold. We were so pissed off. So then we went to the golf course. We're like, "Look, you give us no choice." So we used to climb the old fence. In fact, in the book, I have a picture when I met up with my buddies last year in August. The fence has not been replaced. It was so cool, and so you can see all these rungs that are like little feet. It was kind of cool, but so we got kicked out of there more than I can remember. So we would do the old street thing. Our street was like a car and a half wide. So
Right.
it was definitely like the yelling the car thing was definitely part of our,
I wonder if these days, if house windows aren't broken as much as they used to be with baseballs, because not just for the fact less people playing baseball, that goes into accountability too, but also the fact that everyone's windows now have like these film glazed for extra installation. Like if you got a new window in the last 25 years, you have like a filmed window. And I wonder, like, I've hit stuff against the windows in my house and stuff before, and I don't even get a scratch on it because there's so much film on it. Like, unless you are an old, like, single pane window house, which even if you have an old house, those windows don't even exist anymore. People have replaced that a long time ago.
Yeah.
Like, those are the ones you always see broken, like in the movies, right? That little pane of glass all goes through it. I mean, I'm not going to try it in my house anytime soon to see if I can break a window, but I'm wondering to myself, like, if that old like thing that used to show in movies back in the day no longer can exist anymore because the technology has like made it go away. What I mean?
Yeah, that's true. But I think there's also room for debate if things are made better than they were back then today. So they could be made worse too. So,
and thank goodness for the wiffle ball. The wiffle ball saved so many neighborhoods, saved so many kids from getting their butts whipped. I'm telling you, he's a genius. The guy who came up with the wiffle ball, and
the wiffle ball museum
that revolutionized a lot because then you could throw it against the window and bounce right back to you. It didn't anything.
Right. You can make that knuckleball dance too. Oh God!
There are guys there are leagues out there of wiffle ball, and if you go online or something and see them, these guys, there's no way you can hit these balls. I mean, they are 3-4 feet wide, like coming at you, and it's a strike. It's unbelievable how they do it, but.
The trick was you squeeze the ball a little bit to make it a little off balance a little bit, and just enough spin to it. The thing would spin in whatever direction it was going, and you could swing as hard as you could.
Yeah.
And that ball, maybe if you're lucky, is going like 20 feet.
Right. And that was the idea of it. I mean, that's the whole idea of that ball. Yeah, we used to love those. But there
used to be a wiffle ball museum. So wiffle ball essentially was invented in Connecticut. How many years ago? And where the factory is where they used to make the wiffle balls and the bats and stuff, like the official brand, used to do tours.
Yes.
And 2018, I looked into it because I was driving that way to like see if they still had the tours, and they had gotten rid of it. And in fact, they don't even make the wiffle ball bats. I'm assuming that everything's probably like sent over to China.
I'm guessing China, Vietnam,
But like, I mean, that was something. I mean, ingenious.
Yeah.
How do we? It's like how do you play baseball without causing damage and shorten the field by 200 feet?
It was perfect. I mean, the physics behind that thing is ridiculous. It looks so simple, but the
Right.
physics behind that ball, I couldn't explain to anybody. This
No.
is ridiculous.
Well, guys, speaking of wiffle ball, there is a wiffle ball, wiffle ball Hall of Fame, by the way. I
Oh, is it
don't
really?
know. Are you kidding?
Shut up.
I just Googled it. I'm not kidding. This kid's,
Where is
oh
it?
my God. It's in, where is this? Oh God, you know it's going to be in the middle of nowhere.
Gotta be that.
New Carlisle, Carlisle. Where the hell is this?
New Carlisle?
Yeah, maybe it's New Carlisle. Inducted 2020. It opened in 2020.
Where is it? Where's New Carlisle?
I have no idea. I'm trying to figure out where.
I'm going to assume somewhere in the Midwest, Illinois, Indiana, somewhere in Michigan.
I can't tell if somebody just lumped this together just to make a site for this, or if this is a real thing.
I would love to know who's.
Like, how do you get in?
This is news to me too, guys. I mean, try to
What's
figure
that
it out.
qualifications? We might be able to go back down to the archives, and one of us may be able to qualify
Yeah,
for at least.
I kept my stats in a binder. Can I submit
There you
them if
go.
I can find them? Right.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, David Mullaney was the guy. I had to look it up there. Sorry that I forgot, but yeah, he was the guy who he came home one day and he saw his son was hitting golf balls that were completely perforated all the way around.
Yeah.
And he noticed it would it would go like 5 feet because of the resistance, and
Right.
and he was like, all right, let me see. So he and his son, actually, David Jr., they actually started working on this. Like, all right, how would it go kind of far, but curved? Because one of the things he didn't want his kid to do is throw a curveball at like 12 years old,
Right.
because it's bad for the arm. So they tried everything they could, and they came up with a half sphere, half perforated ball.
Yeah.
Changed the world.
Indiana.
Indiana?
Oh, that's far from where I am.
Yeah.
Let's get on over there someday.
Adam, next time we're in the Midwest again, we're gonna have to stop by and check
Right, do the big tour. You could do a show live. You got to do a show live from New Carlisle, Indiana.
It's funny you said about the curveball for the young kids and stuff. And I remember that was a big thing when I played Little League.
Oh, yeah.
Too. They didn't throw a curveball. I wonder if that's still a thing with the kids. I wonder if the parents are just allowing the kids to, to get that edge on the next kid. I mean,
Well,
long term, it probably doesn't work out.
Yeah, that's a great question, because here, like in our school system or whatever, kids are working with trainers at like middle school. I mean, They're doing like legit like preseason training, and you're like, what in the hell is going on here?
I can tell you. Sorry.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt. I was saying, like, I can tell you firsthand, it's bad. It's so I used to throw a pair of balls, and like my arm,
It's terrible.
my throwing arm, my elbow clicks like occasionally, and it has to be from that.
Yeah. I mean, nothing good happens to a growing, forming arm when you're thinking about all the torque on your elbow.
No, it's a bad motion. It's not,
and it's not going to curve. I hate to say it. It's not going to curve very much when you're 12.
No, it's a bad motion. Maybe a sidearm delivery might be more like
good,
better for the body, but like overhand, you're not meant to throw overhand. It's just bad.
Right.
It's not good for
natural.
Yeah.
It's amazing how many people in the Cleveland area are like sports trainers, and they'll say, "We'll teach your kid how to throw a knuckleball or a basketball, whatever." It's like, where do we go?
Well, to be honest with you, it's almost to the point now. If you have a kid playing sports and he's half decent, you have to hire someone to keep that edge up, just for like once a week, just to kind of like a private, mentor or something.
Your neighbor,
Yeah, and those days were like, those were like that was dedicated to the few, the special
elite.
Right? Yeah. The one or two guys you played ball with growing up, and they went to high school and they just like dominated. Like, those are the guys getting like extra, classes and stuff. But now, like, if your kid's just playing regular ball, if you want them just to be able to keep up with the rest of the kids, like, you got to go and like have someone do some throwing practice, some batting practice with them. You know what I mean? You're taking them to the cage every night after school just to hit 20 balls to see how, just to improve his accuracy and stuff. But that'd probably be me. I'd be taking my kids to the cage every day after school to just hit, a couple $1 worth of balls. See how
dollars in there, yeah. And we used to run and get them. Like, we would totally screw over the batting cages. We'd look, and one guy would look, and we'd go grab all the balls and put them back in the boxes again. We're like, what? We've got 40 more. We're good.
That's another thing. It's prehistoric.
$40. That's a good deal.
Batting cages. Where do you find batting cages? I mean, I think I know 2 of them that are in my area, up here, and that's about it. I
have like.
I feel like when I was a kid, there was way more back.
Really?
Yeah, in Ohio, in the Midwest, we like you could have like 2 batting cages, and you have a putt course, and ice cream, and a golf.
Yeah, that's what we got up here.
It's
Yeah,
kind of a big, one-stop shop for something to do. But yeah, we would go in the one that threw the fastest and see who could hit it. We never hit it. I mean, we were like, this thing's 80 miles an hour and we're 12. We can't hit this.
Okay? That's funny. I have 2 in the town I live in. I have an indoor one and an outdoor one.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I've never been to the indoor one. It's right in my gym, but I know the outdoor one is right down the street from me.
You got to get there. See what do you think you can throw?
Hit. I know hit probably barely anything. I was never a good hitter. Throw, I have no idea.
I didn't know if they had we have the pitching machine or the,
Oh no, they don't have a
miles per hour or whatever it is.
They don't have a pitching sim. No,
Pitching,
they definitely don't. It's just batting cages.
I did that at a carnival once, trying to throw the ball as fast as I can. I think I couldn't use my arm for 2 weeks.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's what would happen. Totally. Yeah. You gotta think you're gonna throw it like a lightning, and then you gotta go up.
Trying to show off and try to go.
We had one at the fair, man. We would like walk in with your girlfriend. Yeah. I can win that plastic helmet.
Right.
Here's $20, and everybody's stopping to watch. And I'd throw like 40 or something. Like, what are you doing?
In your head, it's like, I'm going to throw that right through the wall.
Right. It's funny. It's not in the book, but Jeff Shaw he's from my hometown, Washington Courthouse. He played for several teams. He actually won the Rolaids Relief Award when he was with the Dodgers. God, this would have been back in the 90s probably. Anyway, he would always come to our fair. He still lives in our hometown and everything. And of course, people would be like, "Come on, Jeff, you're 100 or whatever, And he's like, "Guys, my arm would fall off, So he would just throw it up there and get like 60 or 65. And kids would be like, "I can throw faster than that." And you're like, "Okay, well, do it." He's like, he's got $1 million arm, so I think he's pass on this one. But
it's amazing how like when you look at someone like, say, for example, Chris Sale, right? Who's like skin and bones, 120 pounds, probably soaking wet. And this guy can throw almost 100 miles per hour.
Ridiculous.
Like now, that's just the elasticity in your arm. It has to be at that point, right? Because, I mean, what else is you can't only swing your arm as fast as
he's a freak. Nolan Ryan too was kind of an exception to the rule. I think also like he was nearing his 40s and could still reach back and throw when you're 100 miles an hour. You know what I mean? But it's like
fast.
I can't imagine that. That's
I know.
You don't even think about like a projectile off your body is coming at 100 miles per hour.
My one story I share in the book with my son and I, we went and saw, can't remember who Verlander was with. I think he was with Detroit. It's been 10 years ago or whatever. And we were watching, he pitched, and he was throwing over 100 on his 100th pitch. And people were like standing up, like, we're not worthy kind of thing. He was pitching against us, but just to watch him do it is like that. His arm's just going to fall off. Like, how can that stay on his body?
Well, a lot of people forget. So your leg muscles got to be pretty good too, because you're pushing off that mound. It's hard to really get a rhythm for that too.
Yeah,
but it's your leg muscles are probably fucking massive.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you see some of those guys, like you said, Sale is one of them, and a lot of guys that are they don't look very big, and you're like, how does that torque happen? And I mean, that's why a lot of guys have Tommy John surgery or shoulder surgery. But it is fun to watch. I will say that.
I was always sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say I'd love to be able to just to go and stand in front of a 100 mile per hour pitch going by me.
Oof.
It's just like your reaction time.
I don't think I could, honestly. I'd be like, sucking my thumb getting behind the catcher or something.
You know who I was fascinated with, Arty? Do you remember that pitcher? He was playing with the Red Sox for us. His name was Chad Bradford. His delivery, his fingers would almost scrape the ground. He dumped down, and like it was amazing that
it was like an underhand throw.
Yeah, it was like a
side arm. Yeah, it was very crazy.
But it wasn't side. It was sidearm, like underhand almost. But I can't imagine, like, how do you get it even 80 miles an hour with that delivery? Like, I just didn't understand it.
I'd love to see these guys, like, 10, 20 years down the road, like football players or weightlifters. They can barely walk, 10 years after their careers are over. I'd like to see a pitcher, or, just generally speaking, look at them 10, 20, 25 years. Are their elbows they soaking in ice still, or like, what does that do? Because you figure 20 years or so, they're pitching from like little league to pros or whatever in that general age range. What does that do to your arm? Like,
I know.
How can guys get Tommy John surgery and come back? That is a huge surgery. You're talking major tendons that are reattached to the bone, and they come back and they throw 95 miles an hour. Like,
wow, the fastest pitch recorded I just looked at, Aroldis Chapman, 2010, 105.8.
Holy cow. Imagine that.
How do you even catch that? Like, how does your reaction even?
I mean, you gotta know that
could handle it. Just but
the catcher better know where that ball's going, otherwise he's gonna die.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
I thought you said curveball. My bad.
All right. Get some in the face.
God. Yeah, some of the guys are just freaks. They're just freaks.
I remember there was a story, like, and probably still happens. Like, remember there was talks about how pitchers would purposely go get Tommy John surgery when they're in the minors to help. They said it used to add a couple of miles per hour to their pitch.
I've heard that.
I mean, I guess it makes sense because, like you said, you're cutting the tendon and you're retightening it, so it's like more of a. But I mean, wasn't that the premise of Rookie of the Year when you get throw the ball like you got?
The tendons feel too tight. Yeah. I do feel like
I don't think I have tendons. Like if I went outside throw a ball, I don't think it would go anywhere. It would just fall.
I do feel like with Tommy John though, there's a thing where they come back better, but I feel like their shelf life has been reduced. It seems like any time that happens, it kind of impacts them in the long run worse. You know? But like back then, like what did happen if you blew your arm out like that? Would you just retire early? Did they call it dead arm? Like, I mean, this had to have happened back then.
Yeah, I'm sure it happened. I don't know how long Tommy John surgery, or by a different name, even how long it's been around. But guys swear by it. But you're right. It would be interesting to look at the data in terms of how they may be really good when they come back, but how long does that last? You know, I mean, reattaching something can't last forever.
No,
it'd be interesting to see.
Yeah, like you're right, Adam. You'd just be walking around for the rest of your life with a dead arm.
Yeah,
it wouldn't be used. Like because there's no way to retighten it. Like,
Shake.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you.
It's the 1940s. Just hang it up.
Probably cut it off. To be honest with you, they probably amputated it. It's like, I mean, what would you do? It's like, hey, and then you fast forward like 30 years, and it's like, oh, we just cut you open. Basically we super glue the tendon back on, and we call it a day. It's like, what?
Yeah. It'd be interesting to go back and look at like sports medicine over the decades, 40s and 50s. That would be really, and no, I'm a nerd, but that would be really interesting.
But like these baseball players, like a lot of them lived long lives, like too. Like, I mean,
they
so
did.
Like they didn't necessarily. I mean, they abused the shit out of their bodies between the beer and the cigars and the injuries they probably played through. And granted, the speed of the sport was significantly slower.
Right.
Today, but it was still competitive. It was still you're still getting balls thrown at you 80 some miles per hour. You know what I mean? I mean, It's not the 105 that Chapman's throwing at your head, but we haven't evolved at that point by a human. And then we're like, you know what I mean? Like someday we'll be throwing 200 miles per hour.
Oh my gosh. It's about Chat. I'm sorry.
No, I was reading that there's a controversy about whether Nolan Ryan really threw 108.1 once. It wasn't. It came at a time where the guns weren't necessarily what they are today. So it kind of falls by the wayside. He's allegedly through 108. Like it wasn't like during the game or anything.
Right,
I don't think that mattered to Robin Ventura.
Right.
Remember when he struck out, or maybe he got beamed. I don't remember, but how fast is that? Damn, 108.
It was an ass kicked by an old man.
Oh my gosh.
That was the greatest fight ever.
I think so. Yeah, man, it's great.
Nolan Ryan was such a badass. I was one of the best. You know what I mean? I used to love watching him play. Like we were younger by the time he retired, but his last like hurrah when he was on he finished up in the Rangers.
Rangers.
Yeah.
Rangers, yeah.
I was talking to a guy the other day when I was at work, and we talked about how Nolan Ryan pitched for like basically I think it was 3 decades, right? And we forget that he was on the Mets and he was on the '69 championship Mets. He's got a World Series with the Mets. No one ever remembers that.
Yeah, and he was gone. The Angels. They went to the Angels, I believe. Right? Did you watch that documentary? There's that documentary.
Yeah, I think that's where I'm getting the accent from. Yeah, right.
Yeah,
it was pretty impressive. I mean, you just went back to Texas and had fun there.
A lot of ranch. There is.
Yeah,
that was one of the greatest.
Oh, I'm going to make a point about what about a baseball story? I can't
Brain
remember.
fart.
Oh, it's getting late. So, Chow, tell us again, where can we get your book?
All right, cool. Well, it is called Ghost Runners. It's available on Amazon, and you can get it if some people want it signed. I know it sounds silly, and I'm embarrassed to say it. Some people want me to write a note in it, and I will. Just send me a Facebook message, and I will get their address and send it out to them.
Why embarrassed? That's awesome. Come on, you like
I'm some kid, you know.
That's
I used to
awesome.
peel balls at the pitch machine. All right.
Yeah.
It's a good Father's Day gift. For
Yeah,
sure.
right?
Yes.
If it is in the baseball.
Mother's Day is this weekend. It's too late. There are a lot of mom stories in there.
Moms, yeah,
I think about my mom. You know, when we played, they had two fields. I have an older brother, and she would sit between the two fields so she could watch both of us play at the same time. It's a great Mother's Day story, you know. So I know you think about all the times we traveled this place and that place, and it's like, damn, mom's really picked up the slack, you know. And
so looking ahead, do you have plans for like another book following this one at some point?
Well, I'm gonna see how this one goes. I've got it's this summer I'm going to be at doing some like minor league ballparks, going and having my book available. I'm really excited. I just found out yesterday my book is going to be in the bookstore at the Hall of Fame in Cooperstown.
Oh, wow.
I'm
Look
really
at that.
excited about that. So yeah, I'm going to be out there the first week of June at a conference, and I'm going to take some books out there. So I'm really excited about that. And so, yeah. So will I write another one? You know what? The stories are so fantastic that I love them. So I might. Long story short, I might. I don't know.
You seem to really enjoy it. So, I mean, keep at it. And if you
thank you. I appreciate you guys having me on.
Yeah.
And, yeah. Wish you guys all the best. How, what are the Red Sox up to these days? I don't know.
They're a funny team because they're in the hottest division in baseball right now.
Right.
But like if they were like in 4 other divisions, they would be in first place.
If they were in the division, if they were in the Central,
so
I'm sorry, go ahead. No, I was just going to say the Indians, or I'm sorry, Guardians, is to not offend anybody in Boston.
Still the Indians up here.
Still the Indians at heart, man.
Yeah.
So they're last in this Central, and we are last in almost every offensive category. So, except I think walks, we're next to last. So we're working on. We got some work to do, but yeah, I think Boston would be in first in the Central. I mean, you know, Detroit, Minnesota.
Yeah,
it does kind of suck to see that they're 7 games back of first place, but they have a 22-16 record. It sucks. And I'm not even sure if this is sustainable though. But as of right now, this moment, yeah, it sucks to see that.
Yeah. So.
Hey, just be on the bright side. We're not. None of us are the Oakland A's right now, who are just.
Oh my gosh!
Crashing that plane.
8-30.
Nice.
8-30. Is that what they are?
Yeah.
They're drawing like 3,000 people a game.
Right. Their minor league team pose more people, and that's going to be in the pocket where they're going to be playing in. So their minor league teams in Las Vegas. So the plan is to eventually build them a stadium in Vegas, but like the year before, get them in there and playing in the minor league stadium with an expansion. Well, and then they're talking like, well, the minor league teams pull more people than the professional team, so they actually might be hurting the minor league team because they have a brand new ballpark they built like 3 years ago. Which it's a modern. I haven't been to. I'm going to it actually this September, but I went to the old one. The old one was a decent like 20-year-old ballpark too, but they kept both of them. So they're gonna move the minor league team once the A's go to Vegas to the old park, and they're gonna have. So it's gonna be basically like how St. Paul and Indianapolis have a pro team and a AAA team. They're gonna keep the same in Vegas. So that's the game plan over there. But it's just gonna be like they just want to get out there as fast as possible. That's their goal. Like,
well, luckily there's nothing else to do in Vegas, so you might as well go to a baseball game, right?
It's actually so the 51s is the AAA team out there, and they bounced around from affiliates for so many years. When I actually seen them, they were actually the Mets affiliate for AAA, but they actually draw a decent crowd, and the reason is because a lot of the games are like, Friday night, you go, before dinner, after dinner, go to a ball game.
Yep.
You know, and you go gamble. You can gamble while you're in the park, right? And then
Right.
the stadium's kind of near the old Vegas area, so it's kind of really quick to get to everything over there too. So it seems like, and like Adam and I were talking about how like the football and the hockey teams, how people from out of state go there just on vacation just to check it out. You know,
Yeah, totally. Huh. Be interesting to see what happens. When's that supposed to take place? Is it
20
next year?
2025 is what they said they're
Weird.
gonna move. That's when their lease is up, I guess, at the Coliseum. But I wouldn't be surprised if they have such a bad attendance this year. MLB is like, we're moving them now.
We're done. Yeah.
Like,
Why even prolong that?
I mean, it's terrible for such a historic franchise, right?
Well, they had some great years, a lot of really good years, but
And it's just dating back to like the beginning of baseball, the Philadelphia Athletics, right? Like, and then you go to Kansas City and you make your way across the country like a wagon discovering the West. You know what I mean? And they just have so much history behind them, and then they're just like some orphan child, just like the parents like moved to Florida and left them in the house for like
We're done.
food. And it was just,
I'll check them out if I'm out west.
but yeah, it would be.
So
Well, Chad, thank you for joining us. Real quick, just plug your information again, where they can get your book and how they can contact you.
appreciate it. Well, first of all, thank you guys for having me on tonight. I really appreciate it. Ghost Runners can be found on Amazon, and you can, if you want it signed, you can just send me a message through Facebook, and I will get your address, and we will go from there. It'll be I'll be at several minor league games in this area this summer, and then again I'll be in Cooperstown first week of June. So it'll be available there if you're ever at the Hall of Fame.
That'd be cool.
Thanks,
Awesome.
Awesome. All right, guys.
All right.
Thank you so much. We'll talk to you again. See you.
See
See you later.
Peace. Good guy.
Chad Wise. You remember him from last time we had him on,
I do, and I'm glad we had him on. I forgot he's one of our really good, like, nice, easy to talk to guests who it's not like pulling teeth. It's always good to have one like him.
Especially in baseball stories. We can go on for hours. We could have done the show for 3 hours just talking about baseball.
Oh yeah, we sound like old people. It's fine though. We're turning into old people, so it's
I know.
Good, man.
To the point where I was driving home today, and I was like, you know, I'd really like to I looked up to like the left of me, and this old guy was driving a Jeep, and he was smoking a cigar, and I was like, wow, I think I should start doing that, just smoking cigars when I'm driving the roof off.
Well, if you remember, Arty, during our Kentucky Derby weekend, I was asking you questions till about 4:30 in the morning about baseball stadiums to stay awake. That was keeping me awake because I'm like, this would be entertaining. So I was like, oh, I'm gonna ask Arty about baseball stadiums, and that went on like 2, 3 in the morning because it was helping me stay awake. So
I was sitting in the casino, just shooting drinks, and I'm still catching up from sleep for that weekend.
I'm a little congested still. I'm glad I didn't bog out here because we still have a few minutes and I want to ask you, now that you've been able to anybody still listening to the show like me and Arty, we're at the Kentucky Derby, the bachelor party over the weekend. We pulled a complete all-nighter, did not sleep. And but I want to know, now that you've had time to digest everything, like what is your opinion of the Derby?
I don't know. I think it's just like it's another race. I've been to a bunch of horse race places, but not like big events for horse races. Like the biggest one, Suffolk Downs last weekend when they closed that down.
Yeah.
But like, I think it's more like I feel like it's more like a fashion show type thing.
Yeah, I think it would have been the thing is I got to remember too, like we were viewing it through the eyes of two people who hadn't slept in 24 hours. And I think if we were in the stands, it might have been a little bit different.
I think so. But when you get down to the brass nails of it, it's just betting on horses at the end of the day. I know it's more of a party around it, but it's no different than if you went down to your local horse track and just betting the horse that for that race, you know?
I feel like the Belmont, I enjoyed the Belmont quite a bit more, but the Derby is the Derby. Like there's nothing that matches that kind of energy that was there, 160,000 people. Like that's something you feel like a playoff environment. That can't be matched. But in terms of like the actual like room,
I feel like it was underwhelming.
Yeah, because we couldn't see shit. We at least thought we could see something.
Well, not even the fact that it's like that. It's just like the whole. You grow up all your life and you watch the Kentucky Derby on TV and you see this thing and it's this big giant party and all this crazy stuff going on, and you think there's like constant action and stuff like that. And then when you get down to it, it's just like, no, it's just a bunch of people hanging out in the infield and just bunch of people waiting for the next race every 45 minutes. And
well, like I explained it in our office.
But if you're in one of the suites, I guess it's different too, because then you're having a party the entire time,
Yes. But I think I summed it up best when I said in the office, like, it's just a series of waiting 1 hour, because that's the average wait time to do fucking anything. What you want, food, good, 1 hour. You want alcohol, fine, 1 hour. And they're not the same fucking line. Right. Oh, you want actually no, the bathroom and the cigar line were the only two things that you didn't have to wait an hour for.
I wonder if like the way they set that up was like, is it purposely because they don't want people getting hammered, or is it just inefficiency? And if it's inefficiency, like, why don't you just let people bring a cooler in like NASCAR?
Yeah, it's just too many people. They're probably worried about violence if that happens.
I mean, I think people drinking too much, they were just passing out before they get violent. How many guys did we see just drop that entire weekend? You know what I mean?
I did see it, quite a few women escorted out who were dehydrated. I saw it was that one kid who was having the worst day of his life. I was like, that dude definitely sprinted and did marathon. Yeah. And yeah, a couple fights I almost saw. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that goes to without saying. We're hanging out with a bunch of we're probably the oldest people. They were like the chaperones for the other college kids hanging out there.
Oof. Brutal.
There's a lot of college kids. It's what they look forward to, I think, all year. It's probably their thing,
Yeah.
But all right, so at the end of the show, anything going on?
No, not really, my friend. Using your Red Sox tickets this weekend.
There you go, Saturday. I was gonna say you're missing out on what's his face pitching. He's pitching tomorrow. The guy that's brought off the DL. God, I can't even think of his name. The Sox have a pitcher going tomorrow. Was on the DL. He I guess he was on the team last year. Didn't pitch at all and just got off the DL.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Braxton. Sound familiar?
Yeah. I gotta inhale some steam. I'm congested.
Jesus. I've seen that in slow motion.
What, me cough?
Yeah, my computer froze up and it was just going like.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's it. Then you get me on the Wicked Explorers, and I guess we'll see you all next week after these after 6 days. See you guys later.
Peace.